So that is what we do. So when we talk about helping women get hired, we do that in and advancing their career. Of course, we do that in three ways, which is job matching, training that focuses on reskilling, upskilling, and retooling. And the last one is like, we don't just connect women to the workforce, especially when they're immigrants with a lot of education. We keep supporting them. We provide them with ongoing support. In this case, there is a great retention rate, an amazing retention rate around this women, for these women. So as being a CEO and the founder of Grow Women, I also wear the hats of a career strategist and also the recruiter. So yeah, that's me. And I look forward to having this conversation with the amazing panels today. Once again, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, you're in a role where upskilling is a topic you probably deal with continually. That's Absolutely. Excellent. Absolutely. Eric, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Eric Gislason. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Safety Professionals. We're headquartered out of Wilmington, North Carolina, but we are international in scope. We are a training and certification organization. We provide IACET accredited CEUs as well as ANAB accredited certifications. So we've been around since the year 2000, and I've been with the NASP for about the last 8 years. So this is my second year on the panel, so I'm excited, and a very important topic in today's fluctuating workforce, let's put it that way. So I'm excited to be here and ready to talk about upskilling.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I'm excited to hear your perspective on this, especially with the organization or what they do a great job. And last but not least, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Bryan. So my name is Michael Ebbinghaus. I'm the manufacturing manager at a company called Fluence. At Fluence, we make LED lighting for the horticulture industry. And we were actually acquired by Bryan's company, Signify, back in May of this year. So that's when I met Bryan since May. I am also the EHS site leader as the manufacturing manager. My background is I spent 26 years in semiconductor manufacturing and 5 years in aerospace. It's pretty much all I've ever done. And when I thought about it, I said, yeah, I'm not a per se EHS professional, but by virtue of working in semiconductor all that time, and the amount of training that we go through and the safety protocols, I probably know quite a bit about EHS. And then I had the good fortune in aerospace of working in a site that was a VPP star site here in Texas. So have a lot of background in safety. And then, Bryan's done a great job helping us get up to speed here at Fluence.
Appreciate the plug, Michael. Again, you're being very humble. Yeah, your knowledge of environmental health and safety is very well grounded in a practical use too in manufacturing. And some of the stories I've heard you tell were some of the most inspirational safety talks I've heard. So if we get a chance, I might have to have you share a little bit of your experience with them.
Thank you.
The topic again. Let's. What I'd like to do is just kind of kick it off, hearing from everybody on, and maybe Eric, we can just start with you and feel free to jump in. But what are your thoughts on, again, the importance of upskilling, and what are some of the main skills that you see that people need, especially in the role of something to do with environmental health and safety?
So, it's a great question. It's, if you look at the actual definition of upskilling, it talks about, advancing your skills as an employee through education or training. And I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. I was looking at some research, and it said that a recent poll showed that 58% of employees need upskilling, that they are lacking the skills to do their job correctly. And in the economic times that we're in, it's difficult to find employees that have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do their jobs appropriately. From an EHS perspective, my gosh, I don't think the question is, why is upskilling important? I think the question is, how can you not be upskilling in EHS? Because it's a constantly changing area with the technology aspects of it. There's so much to it. I've often likened the EHS field to that of the medical field, where are you going to be a general practitioner and have a fair amount of knowledge on a broad variety of topics, or are you going to be a specialist in a specific area like confined space rescue or ergonomics? There's so many areas of specialization that as you, especially if you're younger, if you're picking your career path, what direction do you want to go into with specialization? And I mean, to me, that's why upskilling is so important. I've been in the business for 34 years. And what I've learned is that I know what I don't know. There's still so much more for me to know. I'm a true believer, a student of learning. So upskilling is a constant process, and it's going to bring career advancement. It's going to bring employee retention. There's so many benefits to upskilling that we can talk about. So it's vital to the growth of you as an individual and the growth of the organization.
I like that. I guess you can almost say upskilling is in itself something, in other words, constantly improving, constantly learning. Upskilling is a skill, just realizing that you need to be constantly learning and to stay relevant with the times. You know, I think that's saying that everything has a shelf life, including the knowledge and experience we have. So if it's not moving forward, we're probably moving backwards a little bit.
Agreed.
Michael or Tracy, chime in.
Right, maybe I can jump in there. For me, upskilling, it's so necessary, especially in this era that we are living in. So if you can see what the COVID-19 has done in the past couple of years, it has actually exposed a lot of things that we didn't know about, right? And for us at Grow, as I did when I did my introduction, or as I said as my introduction, it was based on the gap that was there for immigrants when they came into the country, coming into the country with a lot of skills and not having to get the decent job that has led us to start working in looking for ways to upskill them to get at least an adequate job. And then the COVID-19 happened. And then when the COVID-19 happened, we find it very important that what we're doing. So upskilling, what is upskilling? It's improving employee skill that are applied to their role. So the importance of doing that is like the workforce, as I said, is already changing. And in order for us to meet up demand and to be flexible in what is going to come, upskilling is so important. And of course, with upskilling comes retention. So we are able to see a lot of retention. And so doing, and for us at Grow, we've seen that employers are coming to us that what can they do? Instead of hiring a new employee, we always advise the employer to say, can you do an audit within your team to see who is already aware of what your company do, and just try to help them upskill so they can grow laterally rather than just hiring somebody new. And with the women that comes in, that is what we also do with them, is that we assess them to do so. So upskilling is the way of the future. It is important that we learn this, employer learn this, so they can be able to retain the right skill or the right skill set that they need for the particular job. And also the ability to have an upskilling within the company or training within the company saves a lot for the employer. So that's for right now, that's all I have to say, that upskilling is a new education or for workforce to thrive in the future that we're currently living in, which is changing drastically. And upskilling is also going to help us retain a lot of workers that has the ability and the competency to move a company forward.
Well, that was you had a lot of gold nuggets in there, Trey. I love your idea of encouraging businesses to invest in their employees, and going along with good succession planning, and investing in the people that you already have. Talk about a great way to get engagement and loyalty. Again, investing in your people. I love that. equip, support, and then celebrate success.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely, Brian. I can also emphasize that there's a lot of companies now, especially in the tech companies, that are doing that. I can give an example of Amazon. The ability for employee to know that company is giving them an opportunity to come into their company as in an entry level, and also say, when you do this a little bit, we will help train you, or we will pay for your school, pay for your fee to go attend any university or any college or any training. That skill that you learn, you can apply it to our company or apply it to any company of your choice. Is really becoming really popular. And of course, we see that in a lot of tech role that we see that. So upskilling is the way forward. Upskilling is a new education that is going to help our new workforce thrive forward.
Fantastic. Michael, you got some wisdom for us?
Yeah, first of all, don't ever follow Eric and Tracy on a question.
I said,
they're tough acts to follow, but echoing some of the things that Tracy said, in 2021, it was really a tough year for Fluence because we were ramping vertically in our manufacturing, and the Austin labor market's really, really tight. You had Tesla moving in, Oracle moved their headquarters here. I guess anyone who didn't want to be in California anymore, they were coming to Austin. And so we were competing for talent. And I actually found a white paper on the cost of employee turnover. And depending on the position, it could be 3x that person's salary to replace them. So upskilling is really the antidote, right, to that issue. And investing in your people, providing the proper training. We have a good example here at Fluence of someone who 2.5 years ago was our receptionist at the front desk. Now she heads up our sales support team, right? So she was eager, she wanted to learn. We provided the right training opportunities, and now she's leading that team. And she's bought into the business, our core values. She knows what they are. She's growing with the organization, and that's invaluable. When we think about EHS, especially our core values in manufacturing is SQDC, right? Safety, quality, delivery, and cost, but they have to be done in that order. So we can do this gap analysis. Where are gaps in our safety programs? And as I evolved in this role with EHS, which has been a very short time, the last 6 months, I was more focused on the S part of it, right? It's the safety part, but just the environmental part of what we do is not only critical, but there's a lot to know. Yeah. Brian, you've dealt with TCEQ, and which is in Texas, our water quality, I'll call them police, and you don't know what you don't know. So it was, I'm like, okay, I had these gaps, right? As someone I would consider a seasoned professional in manufacturing, I had to look around. Probably a lot of other people have these gaps too. So really performing that gap analysis, identifying what the needs are, and then providing the proper training for that. You really can't put a dollar value on upskilling. It's, again, from as Tracy said, an employee retention rate, that cost of employee turnover, because it's not just losing that person, it's who's going to fill that gap of that position you just lost until you onboard someone new. Then there's an onboarding process to get them up to speed where that person was. That could take a year in today's job market. So I was really happy to be on this panel to talk about upskilling, because I think for organizations nowadays, this is going to be a very, very important thing for them to understand and implement in their company.
Excellent, and very well put. Yeah, and I love that every one of you touched on that, just the importance of being able to keep up with the pace of change. I don't know how accurate this is, but I was listening to a speaker here last week talk about that the average student's loans are going to outlast their education. That they might get a 4-year degree, but their information that they learned, a lot of it, depending on their field, in 3 years is going to be out of date. So yeah, again, upskilling so important. I'll just throw this out and you guys can chime in as you want, but what resources do you usually use for finding information or furthering your education, or what resources are out there that you would suggest people kind of tap into for, again, environmental health and safety, and not just environmental health and safety. I think there are other skills like communication, leadership, all those that filter into that. So can you give us some resources or help give people some ideas of where they could go?
Well, I'll chime in first this time.
Yes, since you're there.
But I think LinkedIn is a great resource. I'm in several groups on LinkedIn. I've been able to find some groups for EHS, and I'm up to about, I think, 4,700 contacts on LinkedIn, and so it's a really good one-stop shop for a lot of information, and I've been using that more and more. And of course, then you can get down some good rabbit holes that way, right? You find a link to something else, and so if people aren't using LinkedIn quite a bit right now, I would highly recommend it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I can add to that. Like, there's just a lot of platform right now that are out there for as a good resources for employee, and especially those that are very, very obsessed about, being the best in what they do, and how, like, if of course we can go into detail about why this upskilling is so important. And of course, when we go into how the workforce is changing, we feel it's something that employee themselves should be pushing their employer to always find a way to train them, or take it as an initiative on themselves to actually learn, because the more you learn, the more valuable that you're going to be in the workforce, and there are so many great platforms that are allowing that, in addition to many companies also coming up with their own learning platform in order for their employee to be relevant. You know what I say? So one of it, as already said by Michael, LinkedIn is a great one. The other one that I also suggest for our client, it's called upskillcareer.com, right? There's a lot of great information, especially around technology, that you can learn, which for us, when we're talking to our candidate, because we have a very special way of getting women hired here. When I talk to our candidate, is whatever they do when it comes to upskilling, is that everyone should gravitate towards technology, because that is what the workforce is going to look like. So the more you learn more technical skills, the better it is for you to be relevant in the workforce. So being able to get those platforms that will support that, it's vital for that. So yeah, LinkedIn, and also upskillcareer.com. And there are so many platforms. All you just have to do is go to Google and go search. That's the new university, Google University, for you to search to say that. But all I have to say is, whatever anyone do in present role that you're in, you have to know that upskilling is a self-interest that you have to be very obsessed with, because why? The workforce is changing. And of course, those that are curious, that wants to learn, are going to be the one that is going to be benefiting from it. And of course, the platform now is allowing you to do it yourself, and then you can grow laterally. Now you know that I'm African. I'm trying my best to pronounce it. Yes, within your role. And of course, which as we go along, a lot of roles are going to be disappearing and new roles are going to be created. And when the new roles are created, it's going to be gravitating towards technology. And in order for you to be part of that workforce, you just have to be curious to learn about it yourself. And then this is where all this platform will be utilized. So just go to Google and you find additional to what we've just mentioned. And I guess the other panel, we have other suggestion.
I love your mention of technology, because you're absolutely right. Whatever field we're in, technology is going to take a bigger and bigger part of it. It's like even the tool base we're going to use for whatever, keeping up to date on the latest software and technologies for our fields, definitely important.
Yeah, I would just reiterate exactly what Michael and Tracy said. LinkedIn is such a valuable resource. I hate to say Facebook, but I'm talking Facebook groups. There are Facebook groups like U.S. safety professionals and EHS professionals today. Folks, these are really great opportunities to bounce off of other safety professionals, issues that you're having at your facilities, best management practices. If there's a question out there, you're probably going to see it on one of these social groups, and a lot of back and forth with knowledge, with resources. One of my good friends, Alan Wolford, oversees the U.S. Safety Professional website, and they're constantly giving freebies, and we're all about getting freebies out there to help us with our plans and programs and training. That's the name of the game to keep up with what's going on. Obviously, there are organizations. Now, maybe I'm a little bit biased, right? Because, of course, NASP, woohoo!
We set you up. You had to take the
play. You did. It's right there, Brian. But, organizations like ourselves that provide membership services with all sorts of goodies that are attached to them. And I'm typically a mentor for a lot of new people to the safety world. So helping people guide their careers, their what certifications, what certificates they need. And, NSC, the National Safety Council, ASSP, American Society of Safety Professionals. These are all great organizations. Safepedia. I don't know how many people don't realize, I'm not joking, Safepedia has a plethora of really good material that's out there, what's going on in the world of safety. So use these resources because they're there and they're available for that. So I'm all about staying up to date with these organizations and these social media groups to see what's going on with the rest of the safety professionals and bouncing off problems that I see with my clients, and getting the feedback from other safety professionals, because you always think that you've got the answer until you hear somebody else say something, and then you realize, wow, that's a different perspective. I didn't even think of that. Let's go in that direction.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. I love that. Networking is so important. I always tell people, don't face a problem alone. One of the best safety groups I belonged to was a bunch of safety professionals in a city in Kansas where I belong to, where when OSHA had changed the bloodborne pathogen program, a few of them got together. They figured rather than write it and work on it independently, we'll do it as a group, and help each other. And that from that little start grew into monthly meetings, us meeting once a month with basically all the safety professionals in town and anyone else that wanted to join us. And it just turned into a phenomenal resource. So I love all your comments are excellent. There is so much out there. And thanks for plugging Safepedia. Definitely one of my go-to places. And you're right, they have a tremendous network of professionals and a lot of great information. We are getting some questions in. We got a question here from Nick McWhorter. Hopefully I didn't butcher your last name, but I'll read out the question. Actually, this might be a good one for you to start with here, Eric. And is OSHA 30 still a good initial certification for someone that's aspiring to go into a direct safety role?
So I get that one a lot. First of all, not to play the semantics games, but I do want to make a point. You notice that he posed the question as 30-hour certification.
Yep.
And I do want to make a point on that. To me, with upskilling, there's typically one of three ways to upskill in the EHS world. You're going to be continuing education, right? Continuing education, taking certificate courses, academic background, going for an OHS degree, associate's, bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever, right? And then certifications. These are exams that you sit for. The CSP, we have an MSP, there's CHMN, there's these different certifications. So it's typically one of those three routes. The 30-hour is not a certification, it's a certificate, right? And I just want to make that, because we hear this a lot in the safety world. I've got this certification, and it's really not. It's a certificate is just a course. It's a continuing education that you take, and typically you have a test at the end. So if you're really just starting out, absolutely, the 30-hour is a good overview. Keep in mind, though, these we're talking OTI, that's OSHA Training Institute, and they authorize people to teach 10 and 30-hour courses for OHS professionals or people that are new to OHS. And the 30-hour is awareness only. And it's probably about 12 to 15 topics, awareness only. But if that's where you're starting, that is a good start. We have certificate programs that take and build from the 30-hour that don't require a background. If you're new to safety, we've got them. NSC's got some good programs too. So I'm all about these certificate courses. I just wanted to make that delineation between certificate versus certification. And then, going the academic background, we know that some of us, maybe even amongst this group, are probably not the youngest people in the world. We're a little long in the tooth, and maybe from going back to get a degree is not in. We don't have the time, the resources, the money. So that's not always an option. But for those that can and do have that opportunity, I always push going and getting a degree in OHS. We have a partnership with Columbia Southern University where our CEUs can be transferred to academic credits. So there's a lot of ways to build up the upskilling process, and it's typically a combination of the academic, certification, and certificate courses. And back to the initial question, the 30-hour is a good starting point.
Excellent. I'm glad you made the differentiation too between a certificate and certification, showing that you finished a course versus, the level of training that you'd get to be truly certified. Any other comments, Michael, Tracy?
I don't have anything to add to what Eric had.
I do not have a background in safety. Of course, all I do is connect women, especially when they're immigrants, to the field. So I don't have, but I think I totally agree with Eric, everything that you said. There's definitely a differentiation between certification and certificates. And of course, academy, being able to differentiate that and knowing which one is good for you. For me, I am so leaning on to people having certificates because that's number one way of upskilling. In addition to mentorship, we underrate that the value around mentorship. If there's somebody within your field or your company that you aspire to be, doing their role some days, is you actually approaching them to say, hey, can I learn from you? Can you be my role model? And then by so doing, having lunch break here and there, having the question, they get to pull you through. And that's part of upskilling. Just identifying the role within your field and asking people to say, hey, can I shadow you? Can I just shadow you? What did you do to get this place? Is the easiest way to cut all this, academy certifications and all that. And before you know it, who knows? One day the role might be available and you'll know best about it, and then you can occupy it and start learning. So that's my 2 cents to that. I hope that helps.
It's interesting. I love all your comments. In the mentoring, again, very valuable. I love that you do that, Eric. And Michael, I know you've done that some, and I've mentored a few people. It's interesting, a lot of, and you guys can tell me if you've had this experience too. In the years I've been involved in safety, I got involved as a safety manager in 2008. And the way I got it was our safety manager had left and I was a senior trainer. So I was already teaching other programs. So all of a sudden, bam, I have the safety hat. So then I start with the 30-hour program, I think is what I went to first. And I found me several mentors to help me. And that's where I started going down that path. But bringing me back to my original comment, I've talked to more safety professionals that basically got their start that way. So it wasn't anything intentional. They didn't go to college or plan on going into environmental health and safety. They just kind of ended up on that road and enjoyed it, seemed to take to it. And, this is where we end up. Have you guys noticed that same kind of experience with people? It seems like I hear that a lot in the United States, especially.
I definitely see that a lot, Brian. With our company, we I teach a lot of safety professionals. I teach CSM classes, certified safety manager classes, and it's kind of a train the trainer type course for those that are trying to do internal training. And the vast majority of them didn't say, hey, I'm going to go to college for an OHS degree or an EHS degree. Now, there are some that do. There are some that I was one that I got a degree when I was in my 20s in environmental. I always had a passion for that. Not so much environmental now, more safety. I love the environment, but I love people even more, and that's where my passion is. But a lot of people are military, right? Or they are tradesmen, they're on the tools, so maintenance, mechanics, they're mechanically inclined. You're talking police officers, firefighters, emergency responders. Those are all great segues into the world of safety because you really have that hands-on aspect of it, and you've already obviously have a passion for helping people. So it's a great segue into the world of safety. So I see that a lot. The statistics bear it out. It's about 35% of safety professionals typically have a 4-year degree in EHS or OHS. So the vast majority don't.
Interesting. And that's interesting. You have the figures to kind of back up what I've seen. And I was kind of steered people the same way that you've talked about, if you're young enough and starting out, then getting the formal education, getting the certifications is fantastic, because that's what will open the doors for you to get you into to practice what you've been learning. I tell people now, if you want to keep the job, that's where you've got to, again, the upskilling, and you've got to be able to solve more problems than you create, basically, show that you're actually a good asset. And that's where I do love that we've got a very diverse panel here, from Tracy helping people kind of get their start and see what they need in the business world, Michael with your operations background, and again, I see how you've had to get so much more involved in safety because, again, just the environment that you're in and the world that we're in these days. So here, you and I, Eric, are more of the safety, and then you guys, it shows how expansive safety really is. Another question that Nick asked was, is a specialty essential? Like we've already kind of talked about how safety does get to the point where you can be a general practitioner or someone that does focus on something specific. So how important would you say it is to hone in on something specific and make that your specialty? HAZWOPER, incident investigations, lockout, tagout, or you can go into fields like, environmental testing, air quality. There's so much that you can spend your time with.
Yeah, Brian, I definitely think there's a place for that, right? And what we've done in the interim before we joined Signify is we're contracted with a third party EHS consultant that I've learned a lot from, right? But I had to know my limitations in terms of having a high level of knowledge in a particular area, and so we have a really good relationship with our third party, and we call them in as needed, right? If there's a particular thing we need help with, especially walking us through, again, the TCEQ process, and on the environmental side, we had a lot of room for opportunity, from recycling to how we're handling wastewater. And I'm like, I don't have the background for this, but I know who does, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's a place for that. But going back to the general question, I think if you create a culture around safety in your organization, then some people will really get engaged, and those will be your future leaders in safety, right? And it goes back to the upskilling piece, right? We come full circle. So create that culture of safety. It has to come from the top down, right? It has to, the leader in the organization has to believe in it and live it. Fortunately, we do have that here, which has made it a lot easier. And then more people get engaged, because you do want people on the shop floor to understand the importance of safety and what their role in that is, right? Because I think we've all heard, especially the people who are EHS professionals, well, we have a problem, we'll go get the EHS guy. Well, no, safety is everyone's job, right?
Yeah.
So it's really getting all levels of the organization engaged in that, having a clear vision of what your safety culture is going to be. And then I've seen it in various places I've been. A guy who was running maybe a 5-axis mill 5 years later is our EHS professional, right? So because we created that culture and found out this person had an interest in it. So, but I do think in the specialization arena, there is a place for that. But you know, it starts with having that culture first, and then developing from there.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Actually, as a consultant, I've been on sites where I've had people ask me, well, what do we need to do for a safety first culture to really be developed here? And I always tell the plant manager, the top person, you have to drive it. You know,
Right.
People know what's important to upper management. And if it's important to them, and like you said, then it can cascade down. Then they need to become really the conductor. The music, the melody, all the power comes from the floor. Again, it's support, equip, support, and celebrate.
Mhm.
So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. It's fantastic. We do have another question in. I think, Tracy, this might be a good one for you. This is something I haven't really heard of too much, but evidently, well, let me read the question for you. Who are talking, you were talking about upskilling, which requires investment. What are your thoughts on the recent trend for companies to charge employers for job training if they resign? So evidently, and I haven't heard of this, I'm sure it does happen. You invest in an employee to do training, and then they leave, and evidently the company will charge them for the training they received. Have you come across that, Tracy?
Of course, I actually read around this yesterday. But it's a fear that all employer has. But on the other side, it's also a setback for employer that is choosing not to do that because of the fear of, if I invest in my employee, what about if they decide to now to leave with that training and go get a better job somewhere? My take on that is doing it anyway. You know what I mean? Because that's where the culture starts from. So if you're worried about little things like that, that means you already have a problem with the culture. You know, I know for sure what I'm creating here in my company and seeing the employees that we've been able to bring on board and how much they are so passionate about what you're doing is as a result. And in as much we don't really have a lot that we're offering them a lot, because in any case right now, if any company was to come and say, hey, you've been with Grow now for 2 years or 1 year plus, you can come here and we'll pay you more. They have what it takes. So just take what I've taught them and go to another company. But because of the culture that we've created, this company, my staff are deciding to stay with us until we see the vision. So this is why that will always be on the backside of everyone's thoughts, you know. So that is why we emphasize with our employer to make sure that, what is your mission that everybody is working towards? What is your vision? What do you do that is contributing to humanity? Helping your employee really believe in that vision and helping them to work towards that goal will help them stay. It's only when there is already a problem, people don't really know what they're doing, and the work culture is not what they're looking for, you know, there's no opportunity for them to grow. And of course, we can keep talking about how the workforce is changing. I can emphasize that enough, how the workforce is changing. Matter of fact, what we are seeing today, in another 2 years, it's going to be so drastically changed. And people want to be in a place whereby they can be contributing. And contributing right now does not really, unfortunately, doesn't have to be something that you learn from school. It's where this entrepreneurship skills come in. What can I do for this company that maybe out of what I have learned that can push them forward, and allowing your employee to do that, especially for the millennials. The millennials are just another set of people, workers, or a set of workforce participant that has different mindset from what we are, say, or what we already have, or the traditional workforce workers. So allowing these young folks come into the workforce and stretch their mind, from all aspects. And at the end, everyone is working towards that goal will help them stay. It doesn't matter if you train them, they will leave even though you train them or you don't train them. And you should know that if you train them, that's wherever they go, it will always come back to you. Like this is where conscience come in to say, what, I learned this key as a result of this company that I was in. Your name keep going along either way. So, and if you don't also train them, there will also be somebody that will train them. So you can actually just focus on saying, I'm going to do it regardless, for the humanity one, and also for the workforce, wherever they go, they're going to do it, and just do that for that. Or you can also do it just because you're having the belief that you've done the right thing, created the right vision, the right mission, and also the right culture within your workspace, which is the first thing I have to do. So that will always be a problem that will keep lingering in an all employer. And unfortunately, there is really nothing we can do to create that. As I said, there are companies already doing it. When they hire employees, they tell them, this is what it is. If you can work for us for 2 years, we're going to provide the funding that you need to go to university or to this skill. Whatever you learn from that, you can choose to take it somewhere else. So leaving that door open, but telling them that if you serve me in this time or serve this company in this time, you're going to get this incentive in return. And whatever it is that you do afterward is that. So that employee, we see, they put in their best to really get, and then many of it stay. For employers that do that kind of culture, that have that kind of culture, I have seen that many of those employers stay because, as I said, conscience is always there. And that is what we do at Grow, Women Leaders, just educating. Part of what we do is educating employer the importance of supporting their current employee to upskill, and not even having that mindset of if they leave, what is going to happen. If they leave, they are going to leave. If they stay, they're going to stay. It depends on the culture that you've created. I hope that's that helped.
Yeah,
Bryan, I just put something in the chat, and it's a cartoon. Many of you have probably seen this before, and it says, what if we train them and they leave? And the other guy says, what if we don't and they stay? So
yeah, I've heard that. It's excellent.
Yeah, and so, to echo what Tracy said, if you're upskilling your employees, right? If you're providing them a career growth path and showing them that you believe in them and their advancement, and you're investing in them, and again, that you're creating the proper culture, most people don't leave jobs they're happy at. And so if they're getting some kind of fulfillment from the work that they do, if they enjoy the environment that they're in, if it's a safe place to work, right? Again, people want to feel safe in the work that they do, then your turnover is going to be low and your risk is low as an employer. The downside to not training them is they're going to leave, right? They're going to leave. You're not showing a commitment to them as part of your team. So they're going to go somewhere where they can feel that. And I'm not saying, because some organizations overuse this term, or a family. No, it's a workplace, right? But you can feel like you're part of something, right? That you're part of a team. And that commitment from the leadership of an organization to say, I'm going to invest in you. I believe you can do this. So I'm going to provide this training, right? Because we want to see you grow. People will feel like they're cared about, right? Like when you care about their safety, you're really saying, I care about you, right?
Absolutely.
If you're investing in them from a training standpoint, upskilling them, you're saying, I care about you, right? Am I going to get a return as an employer? Sure I am, right? But what the message you're sending is, it's about your personal career growth, and that's why we want to do it. So again, you will lose some, right? That's the cost of doing that business. But if you don't train them, they're going to leave, and you're going to have a high turnover rate, and you're not going to be prepared for the next step in your business. Go ask Blockbuster or somebody like that, Seymour. They didn't have the vision to go forward and what's the next thing. They obviously didn't train the people to take the business forward, right? And they're non-existent. So I think that was a great talk track from Tracy. But again, some will leave, but a lot of them will leave if you don't do it.
Hey, Bryan, if I could piggyback on that, because there's, I look at a lot of resumes and looked at a lot of resumes in my career. And, for us in the EHS world, there's a lot more job hopping going on than I've seen in the past. For me personally, if I'm looking at somebody that says I was here for this, for a year and a half here, or for 6 months there, or for 2 years there, starts kind of raise a red flag. Is this somebody that I do want to invest in? And then when you kind of research it, it's the things that we hear about from day to day. Maybe it's money, right? Maybe I went for more money, but typically it's that I'm not getting the support that I need within this company. I'm not getting that management commitment. I'm not getting the funding or the resourcing, or I don't have a work-life balance. Okay. I'm putting 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And my real family, not my work family, my real family is suffering because of it. So I think organizations need to look at that from the perspective of, how do we keep a good EHS professional? How do we invest in them? Do we need to invest in techs and keep this person at more of a corporate level, and then they've got the support structure, right? Because one person overseeing a facility of 1,000 people, that's not going to work, right? It's what Michael said earlier about that safety is everybody's job. Well, we preach that all the time. That's fine, but we really need the support structure in place. And then again, part of that is allowing us to upskill and go into areas of specialization that we may need to feel comfortable to do our job. So it's interesting to me, and I'm just throwing this out at the panel to see the fact that EHS, generally speaking, does a lot of job hopping. So that's something to take into note.
Yeah, and great comments, and kudos to I think it was Christine Sullivan for asking that question, and has gotten a lot of response in the chat window on it. I love one of the comments. Shane Oliver again goes, "Where will I find myself in X number of years? If in the same spot, the same position, same knowledge, then what do I have to look forward to?" It's the old deal of, again, we either invest in our employees, create a good culture, we're green and growing, or we're dry and dying. You either invest in your people, again, it's that equip, support, and celebrate. And that equipping does require an investment, but it's something that you need to do. And like you've all pointed out, yeah, there's a risk with it, but that should encourage us as managers to work to develop that good culture where people are cared for emotionally and professionally, as well as physically. So yeah, fantastic conversation. So again, kudos to Christine for bringing that up. Let's see what else we have here. Again, a lot of good information. Any other comments on any of the stuff there or what we've seen in the chat? I've got a few more.
Just one more comment.
Did you
Bryan.
see the question about the OSHA 30? Sorry, Michael. Go ahead with your comment.
We tackled that one, Tamara.
Okay.
So that was but yeah, thanks. Easy to miss. See something else, jump in.
Yeah. So
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, just an example about the commitment, right? So, and I won't name the organization I was at, but we had a safety training that we needed to complete, and it got scheduled near quarter end, right? And so there was a comment from senior leadership, well, we're going to have to cancel that training and push it to the next month. I said, well, why can't we just pull it in the week before, right? And so what message would we be sending by saying these quarter end shipments were more important than the safety training, right? So there was another path there. I'm like, we can pull it in by a week, right? Then we won't be hitting quarter end. It's not an either or, right? We can do both, right? But at the end of the day, our safety has to come first. And if the people in the organization see us pushing it out because we have to make shipments, that's sending the wrong message, right? Again, we have this SQDC hierarchy. Well, delivery is number 3, right? But now we're saying it's number 1. And in the orientations that I do, we talk about what happens if S isn't number 1. Well, you're going to shortcut if you're going to delivery first, right? You're going to shortcut safety. You're going to shortcut quality. And then what happens is you end up paying down the line for it, right? Because you focused on the wrong thing. So just it kind of tied in with what we were talking about here a minute ago and the commitment of the organization.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I do love, again, it's that loyalty towards the people on your team. Again, I always teach that, really any business is a living organization that is 3-part. It's your customers who you serve, your employees who are your work family, if I'll use the term, or work team, and then your suppliers who are your business partners. Any decision you make that hurts one of them is going to hurt all of them. And you really need to take care of your employees first, because they're the ones that are going to take care of your customers.
Right.
So if you're not treating them well, what's that say about your customers? So yeah, again, Eric, Tracy, Michael, we all seem to be in the same agreement here. Definitely upskilling is important, but we need to invest in our people and create that culture where, again, it's not just dropping a seed onto a sidewalk, but creating, the good soil and, giving them everything they need to be happy at work, or feel that they're part of something that has a purpose, not just a cog in a wheel, not just a function there. And you're right, I think there is going to be, and Tracy, maybe you can jump in on this. I don't think, back to my day, I'm 64 years old. So back in my day, the concept was you get out of school, get with the company and stay with them till you die. But today, you're right, I think it is. Almost, it seems to me like every 2 or 3 years, people are moving, and we're almost set up to where, if you don't move within 5 years, people are kind of wondering what's wrong with you. Why are you staying there?
That's true. That's exactly what we said. Of course, we see the whole shift with our kids. If we're paying attention to the kids right now, what they're doing with the games, it's they want new stuff, and the ability to be able to, go for games and create their reality. Like I follow my kids when they are, playing all the games. Games like robots, where they can actually build their reality in a game. Of course, we see how Facebook is turning into like what it's turning into now, like visual reality. The mind constantly by day, psychologically, physically, emotionally, is expanding. From your era to now, there's a lot of changes, and as I said, employees are looking for a way to be part of the changes that everyone is amazed by. I say yes, a lot of things have happened since the time of the COVID, but I feel that this is the greatest time to be alive, to see everything that is happening, and everyone wants to be part of building that reality. So if a company adapt to that, to say, instead of hiring, get out of school, get a job and stay in one role and then grow in it and then retire, it's going to be a deficit in the long run. But if you that is why we're kind of encouraging companies to look into entrepreneurship. Everybody wants to come in there instead of being an entrepreneur. They want to contribute, and the skills that they are contributing can actually then lead into entrepreneurship, which everyone is moving into self-employed. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to come to a time with a whole way of the workforce right now. People are looking for flexibility. With flexibility, the option to explore new stuff. And trust me, when you talk about upskilling, the youth, when I'm having a meeting, it baffles me. Like, before I uttered a word, my millennials, they Google it. So if you're an employee and you want to lie at this day and age, you are in trouble. Because before I could even say a word, like somebody already pulled it out and they're going to finish. That is the world we're living in. And in 2 seconds, they already read about it. You know what I mean? So the ability to know that, and they are learning as you go. That is actually what upskilling is all about. Matter of fact, I took a note from last night when I was studying around this more, is that employers should understand that upskilling is no longer a trend or just a trend or just some other kind of training.
Flavor of the month.
But it is a survival strategy that fuels and sustains company growth. And
I love that.
I go back to saying, if an employee or a staff, when you're talking, they can actually Google and find what they're looking for before you even finish it. That is upskilling. They might not know about it, but trust me, they can pull it in 1 second and read about it. That's part of upskilling. And because of that curiosity, people don't want to stay in that role. Is learning, you telling me about safety right now, I know I can get women in safety, is people just finding that, oh, that sounds interesting. I have a desire in this role. I think people find desire, they study about it, in person or go to school or take certification, and they get into that role. And if they get into that role, the era that we're saying it allows for them to uptool or upskill or move forward into what they're looking until they find what they're looking for. So hiring somebody at this day and age as an employer to think that they are going to be mandated to stay is just an illusion that I feel that people should wake up from, because whatever that is happening in the workforce right now, it's not stopping, but rather there's more to it that is going to, like, people's self-interest are going to be getting into so many roles that they feel that they want to go into. That if I don't like this today, like I have a lot of nursing students right now that are like, I am tired of doing this. I want to go into this. And now, what do you want to do? I want to learn about safety and just get into that. Maybe I can do that as a nurse. I can learn into the safety stuff. Like, there's a lot of movement in the workforce that doesn't even require any education. And it's only going to get better because people have access to information. And this information is going to be ongoing as we go. So yeah, it is something that we just have to deal with. We just have to get used to and not have any expectation. And yes, they are going to be happy and we're going to be happy. Our mission, if we understand it, our mission is going to be fulfilled as a company together, collaboratively. And I feel that's what the workforce is going to be all about.
I like that. We're in an interesting position, talking about all the change. Eric, since you've been in your position for so long dealing with safety, say in the last 5 years, have you seen much of a change in how you have to approach it or how your organization does?
You mean from the perspective of hiring or the upskilling perspective?
Yeah, just supporting and directing safety, supporting the safety professionals
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the perspective of, well, I look at it from the perspective of who I want to hire and what kind of background that they have. And I want to make a point to your point earlier about the specialization aspect of it. I think, to Tracy's point, everybody has a specialization already when they get into the EHS profession. If I've got an electrical background and I want to go into the EHS profession with a strength in electrical, great. If I'm confined space rescue or hazmat emergency response, or I'm a nurse and I've got an OHS background, that's great. The goal from that is to build from that base area of specialization by going through training, education, certifications, so that you can, in my mind, that everybody on this webinar would be looking at is, how do I further that to become a higher level EHS professional? How do I segue this into maybe even from a corporate perspective, right? And then you got to look into the soft skill aspect of it, the creating soft skills in addition to the technical aspect of it, communication, emotional intelligence, de-escalation. So those are the types of things that I look for from a resume building perspective, and what the importance of the upskilling does for us in the EHS profession.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, leverage what what your passion is, to move you forward. I see Tamara is joining, so I see our time went fast. Who
Time
took our
went
time?
fast. I don't know. I don't know who took your time. We're a little bit over, but I would like to do a wheel. We have 2 wheels before we close out. So let me get this up here. Can you see the wheel?
Yes, I see
Okay.
a wheel.
Oh, we have new people joining us. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Wow.
Long spin.
So that is number 93. And that's for an NASP 1-year membership. Who do we have at number 93, Bryan?
I'm not sure how I would know that.
Over the participants list, just a second. Oh, okay, well, we now have 94. So I'm just going to go to the end. So that would be Vincent Chu. Vincent, you have
Yes.
just won, courtesy of Eric and ASP, a 1-year membership.
Awesome.
Yes,
right.
so
Congratulations.
congratulations, and thank you, Eric and NSAP, for donating that. That was lovely. It's gifts like this that provide the fun at Safeopedia as well. Okay, let's do one more spin. I'm just fixing my wheel. There we go. Okay. If you could, Vincent, if you could send me your email in DM, that would be great, please. And let's do one more spin. Here we go. All right. Number 8.
8. Yeah.
We are at number 8. And so number 8. Angela Poston is the winner. And that was for a Make You Safe swag bag bundle with t-shirt, hat, cozy, and a surprise PPE. So if you could also send me your email, that would be good, through DM, and that's Angela Poston. The dyslexic is trying to pronounce the name. Poston. Somebody help me. Did I say it right?
Sounds right to me.
All right, then we're just going to go with that.
We support you.
Thank you. Thank you. So if you could just send me your emails, that would be great. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and the last thing I also wanted to mention before we go, we're going to be continuing these conversations in our upcoming Safety Connections community, right? I'm going to drop the link so if people could come and register to join the community. We're going to continue to have an amazing conversations just like this upskilling panel every single month. So that'll be coming unveiled in November. So sign up here. I'm going to put the link into the chat. And then you can join us all for more great conversations. There we are. So thank you everybody for joining us. And thank you to everybody on the panel for taking your time out of your very busy days to join us here at Safety Connect. I know that you've all got a lot of things on the go, a lot of irons on the go, but this was a wealth of information. So Eric, Michael, and Tracy, thank you so much for being on the panel. And Bryan, thank you for being our moderator today.
Thank you for
I hope every.
Thanks, Tamara. Thank you, Bryan. Thanks for the Michael and Tracy. Appreciate it. Great discussion.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I know.
Oh, and you can go over to the Safety Justice League if you want to continue the conversation. Do you
Right.
guys have
Very
that
much.
link?
Yes. Thanks for having me, and great to
You're
meet
welcome.
you. Bye.
Great to meet you. Bye.